Everyone, how's everyone today? All good? Enjoying the day? Different for Chesham? Anyone been to Chesham? Anyone live in Chesham? There we go, that's the bit that we want to see. So, as I said, it's a fantastic day. It's the first time to have a major sponsor come in, and we're very honoured to have the former Stig, Ben Collins, on stage. Please, big round of applause for Ben.
Great to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Lovely spot. My first time in Chesham, but I feel familiar with because of all the cars. It's great. They've got some amazing collection. So thank you, everyone who's brought some amazing hardware to Warranty Solutions Group for getting us all together.
That's great, and honestly, it's an honour to have Ben on stage with us today. So we're actually going to do a bit of a Q&A with Ben. So I've got some questions here for Ben, but also the big part is it's your guys' opportunity to ask Ben a question. So why don't I kick off first, and then I'll throw anyone who wants to ask a question. And in here with the mic, we'll probably come to the front. And then if you want a question, and please do ask, don't be afraid. No questions are silly questions, as we say. Please ask a question. So the first question is, Ben, tell us about some of the best moments as the Stig.
Well, I did it for quite a long time, so 8 years hiding away the helmet. So I'm trying to pick what's a good one to go for. I think one that I enjoyed a lot, which involved no work at all, obviously was
no work.
Well, I went to Blackpool, so I just spent a day doing roller coasters. Went to a magic show, had my palm read, ate a lot of junk food, and this was a day at work. Basically, I was filler content. They didn't expect the presenters to make it, so they were trying to drive from Germany back to Blackpool on one tank. I think they were all driving diesels, and the producer was looking at it and thinking then they're not going to make it. So get the Stig in there to do some filler content. So I had a wonderful day, and then I got to turn on the Blackpool lights, which was quite cool.
You turned on the Blackpool lights?
Yeah, which put me in I don't know.
In the Stig outfit?
In the Stig outfit. The presenters were sort of talking and arguing. I couldn't hear anything they were saying. With the helmet on, it's difficult to hear. And then I just sort of stormed in and just turned the lights on, which was great. And then it was amazing. We were treated like rock stars, which seemed very weird. There was a massive rock concert on. We sort of took that over as well. Police cavalcade. You're used to all of that, with your career. But we got to just go. It was really bizarre. It was sort of peak Top Gear. So I think that was either 08 or 09, 2009.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Amazing, thank you very much. Right, anyone want to ask a question? Let's go, come on. Someone's got to ask a question for Ben. I do not want to be speaking all day. Perfect, thank you very much. Microphone's coming over. Oh.
What's the most scared you've ever been in a car?
Well, I did that with Jeremy once. So he took me round Silverstone. I was meant to be teaching him, but you can't teach him anything. I was there as an instructor. We had a whiteboard with the track, the Grand Prix circuit. And I got this ready to talk to the presenters and tell them a bit about the track. But Jeremy just took that over. So I just went off and got coffee. He then told them what he knew about racing. And then I had some time to go and teach him. And so I was sitting in the passenger seat, and from the get-go, he was causing problems. And I saw, watch out for this bit, the pit exit. He just looked at me and said, "This is what we do." Like I was a complete idiot. And then he argued the lines to all the corners. He wouldn't have anything that I was telling him. I think some of it may have gone in via osmosis, but yeah.
Jeremy can go via osmosis.
I've never been frightened really, and he's actually a pretty good driver, so he didn't scare me that much. But I would love to have got them all out in the reasonably priced car, the Suzukis, to see what they could do. But they never did a lap time, so we'll never know who is the fastest.
They never did a lap time, any of them?
Not a timed lap. They all drove things around the Dunsfold track many times, but we never timed them. So the only competitive racing we did was the Brick Car 24, for which I was training him, and that was hilarious. With a diesel BMW, with a wing they put on the back that didn't do anything. It was just creating drag and was there for looks. Like a lot of boy racers, which we were.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, one from Facebook. What's the funniest moment with Jeremy, James and Richard on Top Gear?
Well, we used to have a lot of fun doing the live tour. So actually on the studio days, I wouldn't see that much of them. I'd be on track doing the important stuff. They'd be doing all the chat. And but actually on the live tour, we went all around the world doing a live stunt show. So there was... I've lost my mic.
And it's gone.
Try that one. Oh, thanks. Thank you. It was one of the silliest things I did. It was towards the end of the tour, And I had a skit where I was meant to shoot. I was in a little buggy. They were all commentating on the front, and I had to shoot this car that split in half. And I thought I'd do a celebratory lap and drift around the stage in front of a crowd of 5,000. But the lights were down. I had the Stig helmet on, so I couldn't see very well. And I came round. The car that I'd shot with my fake rocket had split in half, but I couldn't see the back end of it. I could see the front half, and I thought, I wonder where the other side of it is, other end of it. And then I found out, but I was at full throttle up until the point I hit the back of this thing, just thundered into it and crashed to a stop. And I got a sort of slow clap from Clarkson. It was fairly funny and humiliating at the same time.
Thank you. Right. Who has a question? Oh, and they're all up. Ian, should we actually go to this one? So we'll come back to you.
What's your favourite racetrack?
I've got a few, but I have to pick one. There's a Le Mans, obviously, which most people know, but actually my favourite is Macau in the Far East, which is a really wild street track that makes Monaco look like a sort of toddler's track. It's very fast, very bumpy and crazy, and it's a lot of fun as well, out of the racing.
What's that compared to like the Nürburgring?
It's very different. Macau is lined with Armco or mountain. So the Nürburgring, which is pretty gnarly and much longer, but Macau is unique just because there isn't a split second that you're not really dealing with a complete emergency. So it's really wild. You're running out of the corners, the tyres are rubbing the walls. So when you're going fast, you can go around slowly and be at the back, but that's really pointless. So to be competitive, you really have to take your brain out and you just go. And it's a really instinctive place to drive, but it's an incredible feeling.
Fantastic, thank you. Gentleman over there, sorry, he was going for the mic.
What was your most favorite car while working with Top Gear?
My favourite was the Porsche Carrera GT, which had the Formula 1 engine, the V10. It's a very loud motor, even louder than the F40, if that's possible. So it's a very high revving beast and a lot of fun.
Fantastic. There's the gentleman there. Let's go to the gentleman first.
Cool T-shirt.
And we'll get the guy in the small T-shirt.
Hi there. What's your best story of trying to remain anonymous? Because you're probably the most famous, unknown person at that time.
Or not anymore.
So, no, I'm telling everybody.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah, I was good at it at the beginning, and it basically just did not by not telling anyone. But so I used to wear a balaclava when I was driving into the track. I realised quite quickly that there was attention, and people were trying to get through with zoom in, massive long lenses and all that. So the nearest miss was when we were doing one of the live shows in Dublin. I think it was Dublin or Belfast, and I noticed a photographer, but I was fully kitted out, so that I'm fine. And but this enormous flash went off. This huge high density flash, and it penetrated. It just took the visor out, so you could see the image came through in the newspaper, and I was like, oh wow, that's me. This could cost me my job. But my wife actually saw it. I had told her at that point, and she said, oh, it's Damon Hill. I said, no. I said, that is me. So I was okay.
Were you actually insulted when your wife said Damon?
I was insulted, and but it was a good rumour we had going on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia got going after I'd started the show. So we did a bit of cat and mouse, because you can just still update that and put in whatever you like. You should never trust Wikipedia. So we kept putting in Damon Hill. So I was a victim of that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right, the young man here.
Have you ever driven the Tesla Cybertruck?
I've not driven it yet. I'd like to, because I like that tank thing that it does. It turns on its own axis, doesn't it? Not yet. But I've driven the other Teslas. They're pretty cool. And the Lucid, which is coming to Europe now, which is even faster, the Sapphire. It's a 1,200 horsepower sedan. Pretty special.
Top speed?
I think it's doing I should know this. 175, I think.
175.
Yeah, it's rare that for an EV to be able to keep pushing and pull, to have that torque at the high speeds, but it does.
Do we know what the 0 to 60 is?
It's ridiculous. It's I think it's around what the Chiron, the Super Sport does. It's I think it's around 2.4 seconds.
Do you reckon you'll actually get to go in it?
Which I've driven the Sapphire.
I have.
Yeah, it's outrageous. It's brilliant.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. It leaves your brain sort of behind you when you go.
That's also very special. All right, any further questions? Right. Oh, let's go for this gentleman here, and then we'll come to you, Paul.
Is there any make of car you consistently have disliked over the years?
Yeah, I
This
feel
lot.
sorry for the owner when I say it, but the TVRs are always a disappointment. They were so badly made, and you routinely get locked out of them. You know, they had the door handle was a button under the mirror, and those used to go wrong, or they just routinely would spin out for no reason. So, but they are kind of fun in a sort of like walking on a tightrope with alligators is fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Paul, in Beacon. Do you want to go over? Paul, do you want to go over? Be easier.
Hiya. So, when you were in Top Gear teaching the celebrities, which was the best celebrity that took the instruction the best, and which was the worst?
So yeah, there's quite a few that were very good. Tom Cruise would be the most memorable because he's Tom Cruise, and he was him and Cameron Diaz were my last guests. And Tom is so focused and determined. His resolve really just shines through. So he was literally hanging on every word and processing everything, and he's completely fearless. So really, that's kind of the perfect student, and it worked. Although he did tip it onto two wheels, and he's probably the only person I know that while a car is tipping over is accelerating. You can hear it. He was popping at the throttle, and I asked him afterwards, "What were you doing?" And he's like, "Actually, no, he did it. It was in the interview." But I did ask him. You know, he's like, "Yeah, I was just balancing it on the power." That's pretty amazing. Most racing drivers would have given up and just hit the brakes or something like that, but he was still going for it, and he set the fastest time. So that was quite cool. And then for worst, I think that is a bit harsh, but I suppose everybody really went for it. Not many people gave up. There were a few quitters, but I feel a bit bad naming and shaming.
You can name and shame. It's okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any more questions? And they're all coming up. Fantastic. Ian, pick one.
Kind of curious, how come you let Michael Schumacher take the fame for being the Stig?
Well, I had no choice in that, but it was brilliant that he did. So Top Gear had a production team, and those that were in charge of it, obviously the BBC made those bigger decisions. And at the time, it was getting quite hot with Wikipedia and other news outlets were leaking stories. So Shuey coming in for the day and throwing a massive smoke bomb was brilliant. And but at first, I didn't know what was going on. So I was asked to drive a bad lap of the track. And I thought, this is going to be how I get fired. They'll say the Stig's broken, can't drive anymore. So I did this awful lap in the Suzuki. And then it was a joke that I didn't understand. I don't think the audience understood it either. So Schumacher was there, revealed himself as the Stig, and then they showed that lap and said it can't be him. It didn't make sense. But it was a good day. I got to meet Michael Schumacher, which was amazing.
I just want to follow on top of that. So, what was Schumacher? Do you remember what Schumacher's time was?
So he didn't lap the Suzuki. He quite wisely declined that. Partly, I mean, the cars were not that much maintained, even down to the basics of tyre pressures.
They weren't maintained at all.
I think they were a bit, but you'd see. Oh, I remember that bit of mud on the sidewall from last week or 2 weeks ago. So they it wasn't very scientific, and just about it was still consistent enough that I think it was a fair challenge. Schumacher's like, I'm not interested in that. I've won multiple world championships. You can see you later.
Oh, fair enough. Right. Any other questions?
What do you think of the new Bugatti? And what's your favourite corner you've ever driven around?
So the new Bugatti sounds gnarly. I haven't driven it or seen it up close. So the closest thing I've been in is the Chiron Supersport, which is amazing. So Bugatti are an incredible company. They keep making these 250, 330 miles an hour plus supercars, hypercars. So I love what they do because they're always pushing the envelope of what's possible. Favourite corner, there's quite a few, but the Indianapolis corner at Le Mans is amazing. So you go from top speed, when I raced there was just over 220 miles an hour, and just lift and turn right, and it's amazing. You rocket through it at about 185 was the minimum speed through the corner before you stamp the brakes for the next one. So Indianapolis is great, and in the night it's amazing because you don't see it till you're quite close. You're just whistling through the trees, doing top whack, the engine screaming, and it's a very special place.
Fantastic. Actually, I've got a question for you. What was your favourite Bond movie to work on, and why? And what was your favourite car in the Bond series?
Favourite Bond that I worked on was Quantum of Solace. It was the first one, and didn't know what I was getting into, and until someone said, right, your Bond, get in the Aston, or it's in your plane, you're doubling. Hopped in the car, and then some weeks later ended up matching suits to Daniel Craig, the legend. to rip this thing around Lake Garda, which was incredible. So it was a really amazing honour to get to work on that. You grow up watching these movies and you find yourself in one, it's pretty special.
It's that childhood moment, right?
Yeah, and a wicked car to do it in, and it was a great chase. It was really iconic. It was amazing how much it got cut down. We filmed for 3.5 months, or so 3 months, to produce a load of footage, and a lot of it was edited out. But
Wow.
what was stayed in, it was pretty well decanted.
Fantastic, thank you. Right, any other questions?
Is there any other Stigs in Top Gear?
Yeah, there's a few. So I did also play. I played German Stig and Green Stig, and I did a bit of the original. There was a Stig before the Stig that you probably know in a black suit. I did a bit of that as well. But the Japanese Stig was very expert in martial arts. I couldn't do that. He was they had to bring in the real man, the real Stig, the real Japanese.
The real
Stig.
Japanese Stig.
Rig Stig as well. I was a bit too lightweight for that role, so that went someone else. But we're all one big family.
And how long were you Stig for again?
8 years.
But you're the longest.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know where the Stig's gone. There was a successor. They found him in the Middle East. He was born in Bethlehem. And he, just bless him, he wasn't as skilled as his predecessor, but he did his best.
As skilled as you.
Correct, yeah.
That's
That's
the right
what
way
I'm
to
saying.
Any other questions? They're all coming through.
Hi Ben, were you into cars as a teenager, and if so, did you have any posters of cars on your wall when you were a teenager?
Yeah, I was into cars from a very small age because of my dad. Every journey was pretty full throttle, and he worked for a company. It was all about the company car. What was next? That's all he talked about. So there was this amazing progression of automobiles through his life. So I think that's sort of, rubbed off. But it was more about the experience. He would just drive it like a bit of a nutter. There was less cars on the road, a bit more space. So we had a lot of fun. And then on the wall, I think it was the Countach, which was just an amazing looking beast. I think some people had the 220, things like that. They were sort of these unobtainables that were on the wall. But it was growing up like that, wasn't it?
Fantastic. We talked about it earlier, but maybe it's worth talking a little bit about it now, and that's about filming Ferrari. So were there any scary moments, and what was it like playing Sterling Moss?
So yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, I played Sterling Moss, a hero of mine on the Ferrari movie, and it was set in the 50s around the Mille Miglia, and we recreated some very big accidents, which was sort of a macabre thing to do, and you sort of felt this atmosphere around that bit of the film. But in the build-up to it, one of the causes of the crashes was that one of the drivers, De Portago, they think that his wheel hit a damaged cat's eye, and there was a piece of metal sticking out the puncture of the tyre. So we had to recreate that in camera. And Michael Mann was the director. He's very exacting. So if you watched his movies, Last of the Mohicans, Heat, which is one of my favourites.
Absolutely.
They're really visceral. He gets really stuck in there, and he goes for the reality. So I wanted to live up to that, and he put the camera right behind the cat's eye, and had to hit this thing. But I did mention to my boss, who was behind the camera, that the front wheel would hit the cat's eye, but the rear wheel was wider than the front, would hit the camera. And he said, "Yeah, I know. I've told him." But he's leaving the camera there, so we're going to have to miss it. So he was using these sort of Top Gun arm, sort of signs as I was leading up to it to get it absolutely spot on, because we had to be pretty much within a millimetre, perfect to the cat's eye for the camera that was recording in slow motion to register it. And then in the moment, I had about 1 foot before I then hit the camera, and somehow managed to hit the cat's eye and then slither around the camera.
And that was done in one shot?
We did it, got that. I did it. I thought I nailed it, and then it was out of focus. So we had to do a second one.
No,
and I thought,
out of focus.
I'm definitely going to hit it this time, but just missed it. And
no one had a bet on that you were going to hit it.
I thought both of them was going to hit it. So you get it's a different sort of. Fortunately, your adrenaline kicks in the way it does for a qualifying session on the racetrack, and you find that zone of concentration, and it worked. So I got to stay on and keep my job a bit longer.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Right, we've got about 10-15 minutes, so any more questions? Keep going. Ian?
Hello.
Oh, it's got there.
Hi Ben. What was the most aggressive car you ever driven?
Most aggressive is probably the Le Mans car I raced in the early 2000s, which was a 800 horsepower prototype, the top class at Le Mans, open cockpit as well, so your head was in the air. So it had more downforce than a Formula One car, carbon brakes, and it was an absolute weapon. No power steering and a big sequential box. It was very, very physical, and I did 2 amazing seasons in that. I was very upset to say goodbye to it. And then worked my way down the ladder, ended up driving slower cars, but had a lot of fun with them too. But the hypercars are back, so that's the sort of most aggressive end of the spectrum, that and F1.
Fantastic, thank you. Young man, Ben, didn't you have your arm up? Yep. Come on, right.
What's your favourite F1 driver?
Ooh, controversial questions. But it's a good one. Well, actually, can I ask who's yours? Lando Norris is awesome. So great guy, amazingly talented driver. I think we're very lucky that there's 5 really amazing talents in F1. For me, there is a standout, and not everyone likes him. I don't know why, but Max Verstappen is.
He's a great driver.
He's a great driver, and he's actually, people like Lando who know him well from racing since they were kids. He knows him as a great guy. So I've not met Max, but I think his driving is incredible and exemplary, and he's doing something very special in F1.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Oh, it's going to come to me, right? Ian, one over there, please.
While working for Top Gear, anything interesting with other crew members, like the usual 3? Like anything interesting about them?
They're not very interesting, are they? I don't know, what can I say that you may not have heard already? I think so on the days we filmed the studio, when you'd see the crowd reacting to the films and everything, those are quite busy days. But it was amazing to watch the tempo, particularly of Clarkson, because he would be anchoring those interviews. So it's quite high pressure, because it's all happening there in the moment. It gets edited down, but still. He'd be running around and also, talking about, so some sections they had planned, others are completely off the cuff. And he was at the sort of centre of everything. Plus, got to learn over the time I was working there how much effort goes into the scripts and the research they do behind the cars. So really, I think it was seeing how they made it and the amount of work that went in before the cameras were rolling, if that makes any sense. And his work ethic in particular, I think, was just incredibly. Basically, he's always writing. So even you'd be there on a day filming a car, he'd have the laptop out for most of the day, writing, tweaking, playing with stuff, and they're all working together to try and make it as sharp as what we experience on a Sunday night. So I think it was really seeing how much work went into it. It was quite blew me away, really.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
Can I just ask, how did you become the Stig?
Good question.
I had to kill the first one. No, there was one before. There was a guy in the black suit, that was Perry McCarthy. So he was there for about 9 months, and then his character was killed off at the end of an aircraft carrier. And I didn't know this, so I was hunting around for a job. I was racing cars, but needed to do, earn a living. And I ended up got an audition at the track, so I went to Dunsfold and then got chucked the keys to a Ford Focus, did a lap time, which they didn't tell me how fast or slow it was. And then I only found out about a month and a half later that I'd been hired. So that was great. See you on Tuesday. It was
that literally see you on Tuesday?
Yeah. See you can come to the track again on Tuesday. And didn't know what I was doing. And there was a white suit in the porter cabin or wherever it was, and that was me.
Any other questions? Ian, we've got a gentleman over there. Do you want to come forward? Do you want to come forward to Ian?
Hi Ben, what do you drive as your everyday car, and why did you make that choice?
Well, at the moment, I've downgraded myself to the main wagon, the family wagon, which is the VW Transporter, which is not that exciting. But as soon as I've got a Lancia that I've been restoring, and the professionals have been restoring with some guidance. We've been working out what's the best way to set it up. So I've got a Lancia Delta Integrale Evo 1, it looks amazing, and hopefully I'll be in that in the next couple of weeks, and then that'll be it. And then the boys at Impulse, we're going to get sorted with some serious audio, so that I can make my ears bleed.
Why?
Because you've got to have tunes.
You're going to put bass in there as well? You're going to put the whole, you're going to deck it out. You're going to do it sympathetically for the car.
Sympathetically. I admire what the guy's done with his Abarth, but
Adam?
That's too much for me. I need to fit stuff in the back, not just speakers.
Any other questions?
Hello. just wanted to ask you, when did you realize you were passionate about high-speed driving, and how did you start? And what was your first car?
So I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That was from the road experience with my dad. That seemed to be the natural thing I wanted to do. And
you were too tall.
I was a bit too tall, and also they failed me on with my. I did an eye test, and I've got 20/20 vision, which I found that deeply annoying that this wasn't sufficient. But my dad got me a go in. I went to Silverstone, sat in a racing car for the first time, and that was it. And it felt like a fighter plane. We low down, single seat. You know, it's this close to the floor. All the gauges are very basic. Tiny little gear stick, and when you put the belts on, you completely become one with that machine. And I just loved it. That was it. It was off. And subsequently, I was incredibly lucky to go out in a Tornado jet. And pilot.
Were you with Jewel in the back? In Rio?
Yeah, I was in the back. He let me have a go in it. And he said, he'd done the afterburner thing and did the takeoff. He said, did that feel fast? And I said, no, it didn't actually. I felt really bad. I said that.
Was that a bit deflating when you were going, really? Did he turn the heat up at the backies?
It just doesn't pull away as quick as a car. So maybe I was lucky in the end.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
Me. What's your favourite car and why?
Well, soon to be the Lancia. But I suppose the favourite of all time would be that Le Mans car that I raced. So yeah, Le Mans 24 hour. So now it would be a hypercar, which I haven't driven yet.
Why not?
No one's let me loose in one of those. I should go and pester them.
I think you should. I was due for those cars, right?
Yeah, I'll call Porsche, see what I can do.
Mr. Patterson.
Ben, amazing career to date. What plans do you have next?
So mainly now I'm working on YouTube. I'm doing YouTube. Having a lot of fun doing. So I've got a channel called Ben Collins Drives, and effectively I've taken all my stuff's gone onto that. So going out, testing amazing stuff, doing silly things with the likes of Matt Armstrong, trying to encourage him to be sensible.
Is that possible?
I think it is. He's an athlete at heart, so he's a BMX guy. But all the bikers I've met are nutters. So it's just taking that enthusiasm, if that's the right word, and trying to mould it into some skills that he can use. He's a great guy though, and he understands what he's doing. I think it's just that he has no fear, but you can work with that. So, but no, that's mostly what I'm up to. So I'm getting to drive Formula One cars, old and hopefully new as well. Go on adventures, and yes, and part of it is filming this new Lancia.
Fantastic. Any other questions? There's another guy.
Hi Ben, what's your dream car garage, unlimited budget?
Oh, the dream. It's how much space do I get for a garage? I think. I'm greedy, so I'd want all of them. But I've got two of my absolute favourites: the Lancia and I've got a 911 Turbo, the 997, which is the last manual one, unless they start reintroducing that. So I'm pretty happy with that. But then you would love a hypercar, and
we all love a hypercar, right?
Yeah, that F40 is incredible. I love the Bugatti, the EB110, Jag XG220. They're all pretty.
They're very
marvelous.
special cars, right?
They are.
Classics.
They're just sort of unobtainable. There's just so few of them. Ultimate car, though, I think would be that Ferrari. It's a P3 from the 70s with a screaming V12. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I would just keep going.
Okay, we've got a couple more minutes left. So, any final questions for Ben? And they're all going to start coming up. Ian, there's a gentleman over there. Hand up.
What are your plans for the Suzuki Liana on your YouTube channel?
Oh,
yeah,
good question. I like that one.
Well, so we've had some big hitters. So we had Freddie Tavares drove it, Ben Fowler, Matt Armstrong, and after that, the Suzukis weren't in good shape. So they're being repaired currently. One of them lost second gear. They did something else to the engine. We're not quite sure what they did to it, but this poor thing. So they're just getting some TLC, and then they'll be wheeled out again. So I'm going to get. I think mostly when there's the YouTube gang, they're bang up for it. It's because they're the generation that watched Top Gear. So now they're getting to have a go on it, which is really fun. So there'll be a lot more to come.
Last question.
Did you ever do karting as part of your sort of understanding of the sport, and how important is it for professional drivers as part of their development?
I never did it, and so I used to laugh at it and thought it was the sort of indoor, the slow ones. And when people kept saying that everyone I was racing with had been racing karts for years, like, so what? until I drove a proper one, the two-stroke, which is a different animal altogether, and then realised that they've been honing these skills for a long time. So it obviously helps, but I started when I was 19 and I managed to get to the front. So I think you can come into it later. You have to believe that you can, otherwise you wouldn't be able to compete. But most have done that route. And you look at what Verstappen is doing, particularly. I think he's taken every advantage of it that he's from his upbringing, from his karting days, and brought it through to F1.
Fantastic, Ben. Well, firstly, I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Loving it.
Big round of applause
seeing you guys.
for Ben
Thank you.
Collins.
Thank you for organising this, Mark. It's been a great job.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. Well, much appreciated. And as we said, here to support the town, and thank you very much for everyone coming to see Ben today. Ben will be back on later on to do a Q&A session with 3 of the car owners who are actually in there. So we've got a Lotus Emira. So you took that up on Chelsea Walsh Hill for Gumball 3000.
Yep.
And then we've got a Ferrari van, which I know you quite liked. And what was the last one?
We looked at the van, the 500s, and we looked at the F40, the Ferrari.
Yeah, 40.
With the president of the Ferrari UK club.
Yeah, he will be here on stage around 2 o'clock. So, guys, please come back for 2 o'clock. There'll be a nice Q&A session with Ben. Other than that, thank you so much indeed, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Have a great day, guys.